the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Supreme amongst humans, you were born in this earth. You paced out 7 strides, then said, I'm supreme in this world. To you who are wasting, I prostrate. With pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like the golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Thus free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to darkness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path to sublime reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, and all aspects. With supreme faith, I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 15 for the Heart Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time, the Bhagawan was dwelling on massive Ultra's mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagawan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also its empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no replica. There is no eye element, and so on, up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance and no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas dwell 3 times, also manifestly, completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata Gadi Gadi Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisoham. Shapucha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya of Kuchavara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you've indicated. Even the Tadakatas rejoice. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvataputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya of Kuchavara, those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Page 25. Saji poke shoche meto drum re robling shane again party sange jingumi te oyi drogon nam dab shingwa chopa sho jetsun lama dampa kinam ki chokyo gala kense jindring jeta sampe do jezin mala zabke choke chapa bab tu so Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamdriyatayami. Janjo Balu Dagni Kapsuchi.
Age Shujin Ji Sama Doba Kenche Sanje Doba Sonje Shudam Saji Shama Chancho Padu Dagni Kapsuchi. Age Shujin Ji Sama Doba Kenche Sanje Doba Sonje Shudam Saji Shama Chancho Padu Dagni Kapsuchi. Age Shujin Jive Sanam Ki Joba Benche Sanje Kyora Shushu. Kange de Zenye Zave, Dawa de Jepa Veshire, de Beshun Jenzeve, Kodam de Lachate. Dunye Nije Sunde Jeve Na, Jeje Sunde Kanje Dindu, Chana Bema Jede. Dawa de Zoyen de Lendo Jo, Bande de Lama Rambu Jene, Dagi Jowe Bendeni. Bande Jepe Wane Jezunde, Gozon Tuge Udo Zedo So. Hai da gulong komiskara. Na da na zo ka lobjon chi ya di rani ji bo ge thanda ma yin barwa. Ra la ka den jing gi da. Sidi ge phaman ni zo simje thamje la ya pham ba ba shi du ya chi de ne. Lobjon di chi yin sam chö ni ne chö tu sam kom sum sang ma chi ya sam ma. Simje shen la pham ba ba shi du ya chi de yin sam ba bo ne. Yes.
First, correcting our intention that one is going to study this not just for oneself, but as the parents of this life have been kind, so have all sentient beings. So, in that light, correcting one's motivation just solely to benefit those sentient beings with the beneficial intention of bodhicitta.
어야 다 그래서 가고 건로 그래서 다 이제 콘서트 송는데 다 퇴섬 지기 중화디 로당하는 상무가 니케어 상무라고 하시나 그거 야고지를 했어 봐
Vale.
배나 그래도 와이나 배자도도 믹다 쳐고요 말해서 봐 대저름 지금 잠조 탭던데 배자던데다 가가 믹다나도 종간나는 죽도 요르셔서 말아서 그거 쉬우지로 와다 배랑아 쉬우지래 그거 된대지 요디 네 시버치미로 그거 뒤 야고 임바디 시나 아심나라 가나라 디 고란슈고 용구레로 와지 야고디 야고 임바 시나 왜소나 로아스스 내다 그거 취체 그거 요 로전시 그거 티야니 콘서초 그 잠베네 베자자치 모든 데지 로전시 총화 디네 비 그거 야고 인스로 그거 야고 레샤스 안데 nge시로 심나라 이지로 질레나 안데 심나 아당아라 드링니마데 야고직 탄단데 뭐 야고직 중소한 삼네 심나 가와 영야디 줌제 담만다 삼나다나 아니 용거레스로
Rejoicing that we have the opportunity, special opportunity, to study this text composed by His Holiness. It is fortunate, for example, if we were in Tibet, we wouldn't get the chance to see or read such compositions, and if we did, we would be put in prison. We are free in that regard, and recognizing that freedom and opportunity is a cause for joy, that we've come to have this opportunity to study Dharma with this text His Holiness has composed, and that joy should be quite definitive, recognizing that opportunity. And one comes to that definitive decision by the reasoned approach of understanding why there is joy.
어야 당조 키신 최고의 줌제 디 도레 칼스나다 대화도 동의미도 임바 다디 나네 장 아니 맞아 디 삼나도 나야 거래 최고의 줌제들 안데 디월라다 뭐 겨우가지단 되어 가면 소용보다 만디 말아서 배나 최고의 줌제 거래라이나 아니 대화서야디 즉 주에 망보직을 때네 두비운 거예요. 봐. 아니 다 배나 단단 간저게 심 라이들라 대화 매베 내갑지네요. 롭종당 범접 삼로당 롭종체 근데 쟤는 나게 지심 대화 시라면이 심 투된 조로 심 강의 연조로 어디야 범접에 또게 주어줘야 하던데 봐. 주어줘제 에너지 삼로당단지게 수수 시 니마직 대화대도야 니마니 대화대도야 대화대 지다 주진로지 야고직 상은데 에너지 추저직제 니마직제 니마니제 둔다직제 다와직스던데 아도스투스지제 대화디 유링링링도 도투야 덴데데도 나랑도 메제 델라 대화로 메제 델라야 아니 대화식 두야 칸데 두고도 아니 대화 두야디 셈기 유인디 주어더니 주어도도 서로 아니 대화 용야디 류단 심니를 샤스다 류기 지 주어도네 맞아라 디둑세드 상상 류 지페지 참만용 중화 참만용디 루 투제 내나자요야 한 중화 참만용디 류대다요야 심레 테나시 직 tunje 참마산다 직 삼단다 야니지 켜는데 심레 되어요 야지 마디드 심 동해요야 디 용거요디 어 참물로 란체스 요레다 도서 시고레스로 그 삼단지 딘디네다 딘디지레샤스다 란신디 류기랑 신 심지랑 신도 시트비나 아니 배우고요. 그래서
Previously, we looked at the reasons to study Dharma, why engage in Dharma, and then latterly the text goes into that in the context of future rebirths. And if we think of the cultivation of well-being, there are many causes and conditions behind it. For example, if the mind is feeling upset or is suffering, if one has engaged in correct study, meditation, and thinking, when the mind faces such difficulties, by meditation and mental attitude, such difficulties can be transformed, whereby one can create the happiness of mental well-being for like 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, and so on up into final bliss. But then the question is more closely, how does one create the happiness of this life? Well, that is going to be dependent on the mental continuum because it is a mind that continues. But that mind is also dependent on a body or is together with a body. So sometimes when the elements of the body are not in harmony, we get sick physically. And then with the mind, sometimes when we feel certain types of emotional states and feelings, we suffer as well. So those two natures of body and mind, we need to know, we need to study, and we need to know their nature in terms of cultivating happiness.
다 가르 좀나면은 체대게 되어라 됐다 하자라나 로자인으로
Yeah,
로자로는 베나간도 롱어 주도 이제 도사래 다 로자 대비네 앞지지 도사래 시라데 뭐다 로자 대니 뉴뉴로
yeah,
이사만차 로자주 둔주 곱지도 안했다 곱지대나에 시오래도로 근데 제도다 체 대화 두야디 대점지 투주 튠두지 그래샤 들레다 지 치마 들레 치마 직타르마로 체 치마게 에네 지 대화 두야로 하체 겨와 치마사지 체 디간데 체 심기 준디 아마 시도도 지 마르메 푸자버나시 나토메 도그레스나 티도 마레스 니 시도도 마르메 찌레 찌기 윤도제 세리기 차디마 러시아에 생위 윤데 러시아에 그래서 그래서 겨와 치마라야 아니 지 겨와 대자만세 겨와 치메 되어 두야라 아디 추바시미시 지금 뭐야 말했다 하나 정원에시는 출룩 상황에 겨와 치메 된다 삼단계 열다로 출룩 추 단다지 릴리전스야 상황 망고지다 등산 뉴에지 쓰던 미시지 많자 가서 그래 이 슈이는 겨와 치마 야 다신당 군조에서 도야를 삼물을 와자고라 삼물아 이 힌두도즈네 겨치마치 미 군조 미사 다야라 와자고요라 딱 제가 출룩직이나 겨치마티 야고지용야 친다라 지요다 이거 이나야 말한서 다 낭바이나 겨치만레 마세 베텐데 데베 대화사지기 시기요 당연히 저 치마를 쓰는 당연히 치마 대화도야지 동네세하게 담랑 제다 최바시면시 요 말에 제가 최고의 준비직 되셔요래 근데 아니 저 치마세한테 간대래 스타디 디토라 데스티네마 데송도 방수저 디마르시 데스 잡나로
So in the context of this life, being happy is one thing, but that could be limited in that one will live to be 100 years at most, not many live to be 100. What we may have lived half of that now. 70, 80, 90 is considered quite a good age, isn't it? To live to that age. And within that constraint, when we think about happiness of mind or well-being, that's quite small. But in terms of future lives, that period is longer, the well-being. And it is the case that the mental continuum or the mind doesn't die like a lamp going out, but rather continues like a lamp lighting another lamp in terms of the continuity of mind. So when we look at the context of creating well-being for future lives happiness, one can only do that by practicing Dharma. And this is something probably all religions set out to do in their own way. Some of them are kind of a new age approach. The Christians may believe in heaven, Hindus yet other practices of their nirvana. But anyway, in terms of religions, they're trying to think of well-being in a continued way in future lives. But from a Buddhist perspective, not only do we think of well-being in future lives, but the final well-being, the final bliss of Buddhahood. Anyway, it's good to say something at this stage about the happiness of future lives as His Holiness sets out.
심디 룰라 템바레로
Mm.
심 룰라 템바레 제가 룰디 동가나시 베나 동가나시로 동간디 고 저저로
Yeah.
니 dombo디 가스고라 도고라 사자다만 도 테나시 먼저 니 르덴디 미르덴디 동간다 동간 페스타로 차라로 오늘 동간야 오직 차대요 단다 dombo디 심디 dom보나시 차대요 다 미르데 바시제 니 저 신다지로 되면 dom보 신다지로 도나시 먼저 르기 단대 르지도 먼저 르디 야 상로 주진 상로 당연나 아니 야야야 세대게 밤에 구라라 되네 중화디 시고라다 로 류기 년인데 류기 미시지 류기 준지 미시지 릭tum버 주지 미시지 리미든베 주리 용고 말아 류기 년인 싱기 용고 말아 싱기 년인 류기 용고 말아 그래서나 배낭으로도 구시다베이나 구시 신도시다나 구시 지거면서 철로만 지금 말아라 코코넛인데 지금 말아 코코넛이 신도르네 코코넛 지기도 미시지 그래서 류기년인데 류라 아니 류기년은 저디 파마니지 구다 그래서 세대게 파마니디 네 류디게 딱 먼저 마더데니로 먼저 류데니디 세대게 파마니 고란지 류기 차시에 지금 먼저 때려서 가시에 수수 세대라 파마 강리로 된데 유나 고란조다 셈 마지와다 셈그 강에다 셈 연금 쇼와다 근데 관계 부글라 강에 때버든데 여러 메시지 파마 만차지 지 알랭엘라 지 제베 가딘다 세베 가딘시 가딘이 탱오라 파시 마신 가딘 탱인데 람린나 이단 람린나라 가딘 템바텔라 아니 알랭안조 제버삼지 가딘데 할레어라 zambulindelma 제버sam지 가디시오지 아니 대자마세 가시 깨니다 쇠로 안줘요 대사고야 쇠 가시에다베 메지코란라 밤에 심리견이야 체제 대대가 좋아 대단도 저 삼는 당제 네 밤에게 저저게 겨왕아지게 삼는도서 레나 주스 체디게 밤알라야 돼 주스 쇠베 가디면은 깨베 가디 요래서 저 삼는 당과야 돼 개좀 못 차고요. 롭좀 지기래야. 늦어 삼로 당도위나 네. 단도 롭좀 제가 돼 람렘기나 게지. 마신 틴틴스야. 와.
예.
심지단제 마신 틴틴스야. 틴가 틴틴 봐. 도저 틴토위나 지 되게 뭔가지. 세마지오 망보시오지. 라쇼가 매우 차려야 되는데 연구여라.
The mind depends on a body. The body is likened to a guest house, which changes due to the guest-like mind going here and there. The mind in that sense is like the guest of the body. Then at death, of course, the body must be left and the mind goes. Then if we look at the cause of the body, going back to the source the primary cause, substantial cause, is the sperm and ova of the parents. Of course, it has to be of like class, meaning in cause and effect level of similar, what they say? Yeah, class, I guess, or substantial entity. In terms of mind and body, for example, if you plant an apple seed, you don't get oranges. If you plant coconut seeds, you get coconuts. So then looking at the body we have of this life, its substantial cause comes from the parents, those two, sperm and ova. And in that sense, we think on the fact that our opportunity for this body was given to us by the parents. And there's a couple of points there. One is the fact that the very fact that you're born is due to the parents, but also after that, the sustaining of your existence is their kindness as well. And you can often think on the kindness of sentient beings in context of past lives in this regard. Not only did they give you the body, but sustained you. So when you study Lam Rim, it's good to reflect like this, you know, of the kindness like this, like going through these steps, like sentient beings have been kind like one's mother, kind in the sense that they gave birth to you, but also sustained you. So when you tend to get upset with others or upset, that's going to calm down by nature. Mhm.
지난다 겨왕아지 유어라야 리베 도변데 아니 셰와가메 링데 균으로 리버그 셰베 링데 균데라 토와메로
Yeah.
베나 트린게 셰베 균데 계산을 중으로스 다드네 야야야드네 파메기 닝잠자베 셰와자티 디 겨왕아메기 셰바마 닝잠자 균지마 용디기 요레스디 겨왕아마 셰바디기 링다디 균마 셰바 두고 요바들 때네 Any
Now, the logic behind the existence of past lives, the consciousness having no beginning, for example, tracing today's mental continuum or consciousness back to yesterday and so forth, right back to the consciousness at the time of conception, which then would have had a cause in terms of continua that's unbroken.
나드네 아니 콤방아몽은 두서라 콤시 단단데 베데 틱지도와 단단도 와지데 르벤 젠더 고메레 그래 지게 로다 르벤 마디지데 사이도 로이 투도 세와 메와도 어머난 게 르벤베란 신진 스테마타데 수자마데마 가세서 저 치와다 누시통어 저 치와이 대단 체라신 군배 뒤스도 배나 바죽 더 보고 친주가나 아니 아마 아메 거번에 계산이네 오마 통야데 라고면도 어디 가래 이수 간데 중원에서네 겨왕하면 공배원 그러와 겨왕하면 공바 요에 인상 공바된 왕기 남상지 아마 남상 오마 통과돼야 그러와 지금 두즈 상마 공바 겨왕하면 공바가 왕기 아니 건방하면 언제 송어래 세상 안아서 미망고치래야 단대 곰시디 겨왕하면 곰시라 더 쉽지 유대래와 세상 곰시 년박하시 체디고 곰시 말아 겨왕하면 곰시 요인자 지금 곰시 년바디 가서 조단야라 갈래도 와 님들 가르서는 건바 쇼지 친대래 와 건방 년바 쇼지 유른 거 쇼지 친대래 인자 디 조단야라 레라오야 마세상 그래서 건방하면 성어디 김진기 아니 겨왕아마도 빼나 부구 지금은 미 부구 깨마다데 아마도 오마통어데 베베로 바죽다 둔두도서이네 남사 오마통가 로싱기도 알아 아니 간데 총어래 디스라브레스 제디 최선디 겨왕아마 건배왕이 총어래스라게 티 겨왕아마에 두지지라 콤방아몽원도 사 되게 두지지 리버직 되라.
Another reason to look at to substantiate past lives is that of habituation, habits. We have this quote from, I think it's Chandra Gilman, that on page 27, that one just born, its mind without strength, with senses dull, seeks breast to suck and food to eat, untaught by anyone, is clearly due to being used to these in other lives. So this kind of notion of habituation, and in fact, not only in this instance, but a lot of our habits in this life are not created in this life. They are actually the result of being habituated to those tendencies over many, many lifetimes, and often the case with bad habits. This is why they're so hard to change, because of the habituation over many lives. In terms of, for example, if a baby, when a baby's just born, it knows immediately or yearns for milk, as I said, and calves also know straight away how to go to suckle. And this is because they don't need to be taught that. They are familiar with this from previous lives.
안에 되네 첨방아몽원도 사 첨바. 와다 겨왕아메 잘라ทิ้어 봐. 지상 안한즈다 벽에 한다. 라마 망고지 양시 제지 쉬야데 겨왕아메게 잘라 예 잘라다제 체니 아니 런치고요라. 그래서 첨방아몽원도 사와데. 와 세상에서 배야고도 와다 리버 좀젠단 된 바로 들어.
And then there is the logic of recourse to recall memory, like in Tibet, the recognition of incarnate tukus and so forth by the method of checking the predecessors' belongings. So there is that validation by recall.
너니 겨왕아마 테니에게 겨왕아마 테니 미고시니 뭐요라로.
Yeah.
근데 저런서 동료들은 알아. 겨왕아마 테니에게 미든데 망고 동료여로 라마든데 겨왕아메게다 주주간라 겨왕아마 텐디 요들이로. 야로 첨부차디 템버제로다 제도 수다.
And then just meeting beings, like I've met some lamas who have recalled their past lives, but more clearly when they're young. As one gets older, the recall degenerates and it's not so clear.
나딩산데 겨왕아마 템벌에 인지미지 겨왕아마 켈레니에들한테 케말레니를 마템바든데 게마로 겨왕아마 켈링기유나레 메나레 추르치네 더 메시니 미든데 겨왕아마 템바든데
Right.
뭐 중요하라로.
Right. And that kind of notion of one having to believe in past lives because one can recall them, it doesn't pervade. That's just a belief in past lives. I mean, the memory of past lives occurs for those that don't have that particular persuasion as well.
다 연왕안아서 겨왕아지 인데 장이 펜도 가려서라. 근데 시엔이 펜도 가려서는다. 펜도 할래바 있다. 쉬어지 펜도 쉬고 좀 뭐여래. 또 있다. 펜도 슉 치셔야 가야를 나서나 아니지. 말하면서 메제디나라지 미스니디 깨니 시주래로. 시르도 아니 지 겨왕아지를 이제나 아니 겨와시마디 도사디 야구질로 도셔 편바단 그러와. 지 파마 야구지당 아니 최여서지다 라마 천된 여서지다. 근데 그 최고 고유 야구여서 지를 겨와셔 스멜람제 그러고. 요즘 미시지기 겨왕아지게 내 공부면이지는 다 롭좀 신야 지 삼단단 마신나나야 이 동네 태워서 아니고요. 당에 내 미고 망고사스 당하냐와지 둔두제는 뺏어서 들어 아니 신나지 남자지 근데 신나디야 야고요 말아봐지 심나를 신나다 남자 마지오 체데나 아니 스팀 지지 컨트롤다 마제다 타도다 된다고도 주나 저 지갈라고들라 에 둔도 지갈라야로든지 차니가라
Yeah.
다 저 시갈라고들라 아니 지 계획심 있어야답지로 장주심 계획은 하나게 개와 사고디 심진 도심진 탐제를 평바지 용어쇼 선이 저 치마디 밀루지 톱제 미심진 망고일라 편도지니 파마 찬심진 로 파마 찬심진 지리 겨워쇼스 네 나랑 직초유세 롱바 최 천리에서 라마 천리인데 제버쇼스 판단에 가서 권다만 얘가로 면람들데 자고래로 마 상쇼 나이 미싱가 마레스 계지 라면은 어디 겨와데 든데 지리 영어쇼스 면람잖아 아니 곰시 차그라 이 시글라버들라든데 지금 상무다나 아니 뭐네 지 파마 찬심진에서 지그리 초유세래 지그리 가는 편바다로 봐 지 라마 천리인다 지그리 재산디 개심부 쉬어지래다. 네. 펜도 쉬어지도 하다로 하디 저 아니 시갈라고 감다음에 와차도 해야 된대. 요나단 먼저 또 쉬어디 개가나지 동에 나야 되로. 디스베 탑람디 개왕아지 신이 도준 용으로 도로 가로. 개외 동에 나외 동에 가외 동에 한다 룰레 내나서 연결지네 겨왕아지 이제는 나데 수제 체되게 겨왕아마 망고지 레앙에서베 데브레 동에다 딩알라 미송 아니 이 심지 신기 동에 용어도 봐 거쳐셔 생해로 겨와치마 동에 용어가 버지고 쇼 상당인데 상무단에 거라베 가치모 망고 상무단에로 겨왕아지 남샤디 심나라 시비는 편도 쉬우지도 알아
One might ask, what are the benefits of studying studying past lives, the existence of past and future lives? It is vast. It is vast because, in the context of this life, we are born and we're going to die. But if one has that notion around cultivating a good future rebirth, how to make sure that is the case, one will take care around that so that one aspires to be born with good parents, a fully qualified teacher in a Dharma place. And it's good to know that in a positive way, but not to kind of go down a negative framework that if you don't know how to study, you might worry thinking, if I'm negative, I'll take a lower round rebirth and or be born as an animal. You could, if you don't know how to study and apply, that could be the case. And then, of course, if anger, pride, and the afflictions arise when one dies, that can manifest. However, the point is to know that at the time of death, one plants a virtuous thought, or the virtuous thought of bodhicitta, cultivates that at the time of death, so that this benefits another human rebirth. One wants to aspire for another human birth with good parents that are sympathetic with Dharma and kindness, and then born in a Dharma country with Lama Senden, a fully qualified spiritual master. So even every night, if one can sleep like that, with those aspirations, it's very good to, and then have that. And then it's the case that when one is preparing for future lives, that's not a worry, because you've done that study and practice. Because really, when we think about the suffering of being human, the biggest sufferings we go through are birth, aging, sickness, and death. And of course, with regards sickness, if you know that, you're physically sick now, that with that sickness, you can purify a lot of previous life's non-virtuous karma. And just by having that thought, may this be a circumstance by which I can purify and take on the sufferings of other beings. Then the thought is vast. No.
알하고도 직 가서 그래. 인데게 심라 직다든데 봐. 수수 만나서 랑랑랑 거도 요 손자. 아니 수수 메시디나 겨와 가서 체래. 미고 가서 체래. 대하고라.
Yeah.
아니 겨와다 하전 요요로 근데 겨와 슈좀 체이나 ni ke mare jo chima milu to yam ta shin ni jo len ro yam ne milu to ro yam ha jo la ro ro ta mi ge wa ni shuk chim bo che yo ro mi ge wa shuk cha yo na ni ke wa nge nyo yi da thun du zo la ji ro thun du ro je na pe sa ro sam ne sim de le gre da so so sam da le yon de te jig ba ji le na te ya wo yo ya kar se na ta ji jig ba de le kyo be ni wo su lo to sa ba jam do ju jig ter ba ni 녀송 그 동일은 직신 따고 되와 코에 동일은 직시도 직다 글로디 요고 요로 티 연에 딜레 교베 뉴버슬로도 상당한데 군조라도 아니 군조라야 이제 군조로데 뉴버 요바들 이집에 대월래인데 직바 대반이라 되네 장도치야 장도야 한테 편도 요라 제가 직바 요위네 야 직바 도삼데 파까제 섬르신다 땅말 직바 코란 람산 람군 오월이야 치투야 된대로 점도군 오월 점도제 점도 규직 차용 거로데 최선 직버들 때네 아니 직다들 때네 고조선라 교회 누가요들 이치에 대바지인데 되게 심나야 지로 사와지 때인데 대야 상당한 직 여러 다 간다 아니 겨우가지기 거든지 심이나 아니 먼저 단다 세대게 단다데 아자 미견 튼두 세대게 대화데 아자 투두 튼두 겨우 망보게 대화데 개침보인 봐 세상에 겨우 침만을 편배지도 안 단다 가르치고도 서와 다 최부다고 치고도 아니 최 제와라 최 시고도 퇴고도 아 최시야게 최대 가르치고 그래라나 나무산주야 당보 아니 시딘바니 있으니 시고 요래서 다시 어디서 말이다.
In one sense, however, the mind's fear or trepidation around death is good. The case is that in the context of this life, our virtues are small and our non-virtues are big. And of course, if you've accumulated lots of virtue, then perfect human rebirth, birth in a pure land or God realm is assured. But conversely, if the non-virtuous actions one has done in this life are strong, then the three lower realms are a possibility, the hells, hungry ghosts and animals. So, that kind of fear around the potential lower realm rebirth is a good thing, because then it becomes who can protect one from such a plight? The three jaws. So in terms of the two causes of fear and faith, this brings in the first of the two of a trepidation or fear around the potential lower realm, and that faith that the three jaws can protect one from such a happening is refuge. And here, one doesn't shy away from that fear. The fear turns into the path. That becomes one of the causes of refuge. And then understanding that the three jewels has, in fact, the potency, let's say, or capacity to protect one. That's one way to think. Another way to think is that the future lives are much greater and this life is just small. So in that context, if the future lives are greater than the context of the limit of this life, what does one do to prepare for future lives? Well, one hears and reflects on Dharma. And how does one hear and reflect? How does one hear and reflect on Dharma? Firstly, one hears and reflects on the two truths set out.
다 당고 시 덴바니 있어야 되라. 예시写着写了吧，那了呀，工作点吧，成人点吧，大当不，工作点吧，成人点吧了呢，确他们这是有点的，那那个给写着主单这个，他都给写着主单什么你这个是上单呢，也会有的是吧？嗯，
Yeah. So dividing then the two truths into relative truth and ultimate truth, all phenomena can be condensed within the two, the temporal and ultimate.
我到这写着看有的了，主那样面呢，那个给我们主单人吧这，他们那样他都给我们主单人吧这，他妈的。te baru de la ya ni wa sumba shiwa de ya ma re sra.
Yeah, I mean, all phenomena are either with that, kind of in that temporal category or the ultimate category. There's no third possibility.
这上da这工作点吧给你查的了 top 是吧 top 边那da人家甚至先了明年冬夜的程度给造啊是是吧甚至那些调的都给强巴是俺金巴当呀最终说呀说我们呀都是什么 top top 给查的是吧
Pardon?
top 给查是结果的是吧
Now, when we look at the relative truth, focusing on all sentient beings suffering and the wish that they be free of it, focusing on the fact that sentient beings are bereft of joy and the wish that they have ultimate or final joy, and also all of the methods in the 6 paramitas. These are the means, the relative truth, the method.
这上当然是就用没在那了呀俺去人家当你这长巴当、手巴当、中州当、金巴当等等两年前用呢，这调巴当、高巴西的用过了吧？这当安尼，别那手巴公民的看着那个比看着没有使用过了，是吧？
Yeah,
安尼这定义性公民的sim出着呀，对吧？sim 用着呀的，没有查着过了吧？今年这公民的那甚至先也不讨呀。甚至先也不讨呀，甚至先了女性无所的，没有查着个噻呢。
yeah,
我说甚至先给东野的这个爱情跟上当用过了，当然，我说甚至先了东野说过嘛了，现在，这个东野马上呢，提了点别，就是这那就忙活这他去做有了，我说谈的忙活这，那甚至先了，但这开始呢，上新的写新的东西说过有了，开始呢，写呢他。他写没有些，我们学的所谓的，开始呢，当然是我们恐怕
the bad habit. Yeah,
bad habit。
yeah,
这呢，开始呢，他让我们玩儿的，别的，这叔叔了让我们玩儿的，但叫我们来个安个用过的用过了，那用的，呢，制作些个东西个菜个在有的话的那个不那个不是没有说透过嘛了。 다 디게 게 동해 중세 짜와디 가래잖아. 아니 말로 로과 마리고 단지 마리고 내 총레스. 단지 디니 도지게 탈론들란 담에도 왜 셔럽스. 어디 담에 라데 안 타도 그거 좀 당을 마당. 담에도 왜 셔럽이 타도 왜로 차고 알아. 타도 그거 내로도 왜로데 담에도 왜 셔럽 차고래. 되게 아니 동해 게 짜와 매워서 저거요레스. 세상다 먼저 최 동행원에 매워서 보이나 동행이 싸워 매워서 보래 세상에 될래야 직구전에 받아 탄탄되는 남샤 시국을 해라 금전데 된대 차고요 그래서
yeah. So then it is the case that we need to, in this life, cultivate great compassion, love, patience, effort. It is the case then when we meditate, the times we're meditating in a patient manner, as we mentioned, cultivating these on the method side of the path, 6 paramitas. When you're meditating on patience, anger cannot come. And when you're cultivating single-pointed concentration, the mind is not discursed and hallucinated. When you're meditating on great compassion, you're not being biased towards sentient beings. You're not kind of disregarding some and so forth. And there's also no way you can harm them. And also when you're thinking, I will take upon myself the suffering of all beings, when you generate that mind, one cannot harm them. But then in some cases, some people even think to harm others, yet with others, there are bad habits they have. And then some people face situations, karmic situations, where it seems like they have no choice and they suffer. And but these countermeasures you can apply to these situations are temporary only. So what we have to understand is that, the suffering that we experience comes from like these non-valid minds of truly existent self-grasping. And there has to be a method, a countermeasure to that. And the countermeasure to these invalid minds that create suffering, that cling to a truly existent self, they are these, the mind that sees the final mode of things. So it cuts the root of suffering. So these are the reasons the two are laid out, the relative truth and ultimate truth.
대다 시 덴바니 람 탑시니 스와 탑딜라다 탑스나다 베지 노미닐루도 과체월로 와치니 탑들와 인인제다 참바다 쇠바다 딩인진다 다도즈레로 아니 딜데네 딜데베 소남들라 소남지 초소와 소남지 초와 소남들 소남지 초지 닌제라데네 주에 개와 소고몰라데네 주에 개와 짐바단을 말하는 주에 개와들라 소남지 초스게르와.
So then we can talk about, the base of the two truths, the paths of method or merit and wisdom, method and wisdom. And on the method side, when we are cultivating great compassion, loving kindness, it is the merits we are accruing by cultivating great compassion, by meditating on loving kindness, by cultivating single-pointed concentration. And then by cultivating patience, there's virtue. By engaging in the wish to give this virtue, these are all on the method side of the path.
다드네 아니 나페나 뭐고 질라 따요인데 뭐고 질라 따요인데 베나 탭도 질라 따요인데 탭디 아니 주어도도 서와 주어도에라 신지 아도 봐 딜라야 미다와 다도 좀 군조된 바로 아니 탭디 직직도도 주어도도 탭 자와치기도 탭승이도 규단제 망보실라 때네 중샤스로 소샤스 세상 두스 상마 니지 돈이기 시바디기 고 카두카두를 네 통도다라 하고 우당도 쓰죠
노슨도 똥도
통도다 시기도 제가 탭디 문에지나 집에 로군즈베 뭐라 투 군조스리 내가 굴려용을 투된 요소지라
야
다 탭디 네 먼저 셈나라 컨디션하고라디 망고지 칸라 데메지 템버토라 원에 투어지 나와샤 스타 무이네줄라 먼저 셈나라 샤와나 신기 탭딘데 여러베스나 요마레스나 그래서 탭 템버토와 탭랑 원에 투어디 동바 탭 코랑 어디 랑원데 투어 마레 탭랑 코랑 어디 템버토와 마레스 템베 동아레스 탭 탭이 내로 체주 타도들라 탭電動車시 탭電動車 탭이 동반이 있어지로 대신이들라 아니 단단도 왜 로스 셔럽 담에도 왜 셔럽스 텔레데네 중에서 소남들 이시지 소스와 개와들 이시지 소스고 레스타
Now, if we take the example of the book's nature, is that it is undergoing change, decay, it's impermanent. So in the context of relative truth, the book functions, and the book was made by a publisher or composer. So many causes and conditions go to make up the book. This we can see with our eyes. It's temporal. But the way the book appears to our mind as a kind of non-dependent thing, like an autonomous thing, in reality, it doesn't exist the way it appears to our mind, because the book lacks true existence. The book is not truly existent. The final truth, if you will, or final nature of the book is its lack of intrinsic nature or emptiness. And when we start to examine the nature of the book, for example, or its lack of true existence, we create virtues, and that goes towards the wisdom side of the path.
다디 야 다던다 디나라 저런도 대응을 수용이도 망고지 휴직도 하고 내가 컨석하시 타도는 니니 가시 싸워든데 여러
Yeah.
다디 디니 상당히 가려려는 배낭한도 먼저 뒤진게 초왕어 당아 아니 휴직 팬더야 당보 먼저 뒤제 탐지 미다고란 시스도 와
Yeah.
디시나야 오여라 미다고 주어도란 시도 아나도 장마 치ing어고 리 라와 간지 싱추 리 롱사 모다 키 시미 메도 장마 주어도 그랬습니다. 이게 류대 주어도 그랬어. 아니 이게 심대 주어도. 다 당보도 신나요. 도저라다 고민으로.
Now, the topic of the two truths is not easy if those who are new or like listening online. How do we reflect on these two truths? It is helpful for us to think in the context of the four seals, the first of which all compound things are impermanent or subject to change. So everything, like these, our outer environment, the mountains, cars, dogs, cats, our bodies, our minds, these are all going through change.
아니 뒤현전에서 지 내가 치세는 내가 치세 미드도 상상은 미가시 시커보든데요나 심대 지금만 좀 미다고래 요도 그랬어. 네 미다고 대신아 다디 드링다 땅가서 고 산이 요도 그랬어.
Yeah. And for some of you who have difficulty getting on with your colleagues, if you can just reflect that time with them is impermanent, and if you're patient, that can change tomorrow.
안데네 미다고 삼는 땅인데 안서 미메지세야디 쉬우지 다른 무게 대민도 와서 아니 메제 대제린가 아니 수중원에 지 수중에 미들려야지 팬도당 가족들도 지 팬도 같이 예용 미디 맞지고 소미 삼삼 삼로시 땅제 대토비나 아니 메제디나 야고용 뭐라라
Impermanence, also thinking that in the context of our life, this life as humans, we want to help others around us best we can. We're not here long. And that should remind us not to upset those around us.
다데네 내는 가서 나네 미드마사데 삼모당 오래
Yeah.
춘하게 다와라 먼저 춘한 다와 샤르기도 아미 춘한 다와데 당보다데 춘한 다와 때문에 다와문에 레팅도 알아.
Yeah.
아 삼단데 내 춘한 다와야 말은 다와 판단가라 야라 삼디 데다 다와 말에 삼 당도보다 아니 수수 시고 멜론단 시고 다요디 시고나 수수 동시도 시고 나라 수수 동데 여러베스나 요마라와 제가 네 스팀라 나오나 신지 전라 두여 말해서로 한테나시 다 미지기 지지지 야고도 니니 야고도 전화 야고면도 라는데 전화 야고면도 라데 수수 스팀라랑 수수수 두자시우 임베 나오셔야 되고 이 수수 스팀 나오셔야 되는 여지를 미시지 뭐이네지 된다 말아 야 미지가 저 야구 쉬우지도 라나야 그래서나 아야고 쉬우지 삼삼 나와 샤요 거라 야 나와 샤오나시 하기 지난 나와나시 주요 말해 야 미지가 수수 때스 야구를 하시나 미드다 야구 쉬우지도 들어 배할래 그러셔 셈나라 쉬우지 야구를 나와 샤요인데 셈나 나와 샤오나시 공원에 주지 야구들이에요 말아 야구이나 그 가디위네 야구들이 대응도 어디나시 어디서 상로 땅지 낭주당 내주 미팅 봐 데 줌바 주베 베르와 줌바 주가레스나 줌바 주베 베라 낭주당 내주 미팅 번냐냐래도 하다 들어
It's important in this context to reflect on the fact that things do not exist as they appear. The example of the water moon, or the moon's reflection in water, it appears as if the moon is in the water, but you know the moon is in the sky. That is just a reflection. Similarly, the reflection of your face in the mirror, although your face is not in the mirror, one can think it is. So here, one's mind doesn't get at the true meaning of things. Similarly, if someone were to say you're bad, just them saying that does not make you so. And if they say you're good, then that also doesn't make you good kind of all the time. It's similar to the water moon example. It's just an appearance. Or even if they say, oh, so-and-so is a good person, really good person, in a sense, if that's the case, they would be good all the time, but oftentimes that's not the case. So this is good to have this notion of things not existing the way they appear. These are said to be the illusory, the similes of illusion.
어다 당고 아니 덴바니 남샤 셴발라 아니 지 만아즈 싱기도와 나즈다 나즈 미튼바레스 식체무도 무슨 셴무도 근데 다 베나 탭데 수수심라 계산 탭데다 드린 탭데 아니 지바레 텐데도 삼로 야고다나 탭 제고 말아 계산 탭데 직사라 드린 탭데 단다 데데로 제가 뭐것이니 다다 직신배 소리 좀 다연디 아니 가리네 지금 시미네 주어도신 말이 류이네 주어도신 말이 제가다 주어도라시디 시행디 너도 심나나 주어도고 말해서 당지게 당지의 숙청보라 제가 흔히 다다 대음이다 심나네 데이터버에 데이터다레스 뭐이네지 다버레미다 제가 디니 퉁구미도 제가 도저 어디서 리버드 주 삼로 던데가는 땅투이나 도저 상마데 제공으로 와 제공해야 되와
In the context of the two truths, we know that things do not exist the way they appear. You know, the book here is not the same book it was yesterday. And it's very important to think well on that, on things like that, that all things, or all like functioning things are changing. One's mind, one's body is changing. And if we know that things are in the nature of that change, like mind and body, then you'll know that a mind that clings to the notion of permanence is incorrect, not valid. Check the last minute. Oh, yes. And then you will know that the mind that clings to a notion of permanence is not in accordance with the way things are. Yes.
Oh, yeah, so the page at the Matis Tosha. The she dembani munzi says to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she dembani den la porta. 당보 최신이 시월라 최 가르친 거라나 당보 시 때문에 남샤데 된라 파고레스 때문에 다 군조 된바도 된는 된바스 군조 된바사데 내가 뭐를 두다라고 지금 단단 된바사데 타독은 뭐버디 체주 타독티고 그러다
Mhm.
뭐 데니니 된라 파고레스 봐
No, so following the text now, page 29 at the bottom, the basis of the division into two truths is objects of knowledge. Objects of knowledge are twofold: conventional truths and ultimate truths.
그래서
Yes.
되네 네 람탑시니 냠슬에서 봐 제가 다시 대만이 또네 람탑시니 탑단 시람이 탑디 당시 세워나시인지 다는 미다고도 별로데 탑레 닌지 공별로데 탑레 서버 공별로데 탑레 아니 지 띵인진 공해야 되죠 탑레 탑스나고 로고 토고 조시 거 조시 그랬으나 시럽라 아니 시럽 다음에도 왜 시럽라 조지니 로고지니 우리네리 통화 제발라 곰자와 지고게 또 두고요 말이에요. 양 롭존 제와 지고게 또 두고요 말이에요. 양 소놈 사샤와 지고게 또 두고요 말이에요. 다들 상마 님도 고요래 소놈 사고 요래 롭존 지고고 요래 아니 곰자고 요래 근데게 롭존 지야데 계획신이 진이 상황을 된제 롭존 흉대도 많아지 지고 요래 근데 제스나 아니 신디 수수금 뭐왜 내로 다둑도서 또 그래 해서 대도스는 람 탑시 니사게 싫어 딜데네 뉴모 슈슈로야 어디 람 탑다 싫어 니사데 냠슬란사데 데레스로
Then with the relative truth and ultimate truth, the former is talking about the method, those methods we mentioned, great compassion, loving kindness, these other things like patience and so forth, but they must be supported by cultivation of wisdom, which is an understanding of non-self. So those two, the wisdom must support the wisdom collection or wisdom side of the path, must support the relative or method side. And for that cultivation of wisdom, one needs to study, one needs to also create merit as a means in the relative context, and then rely on a valid spiritual friend and a correct text to finally see the final mode of things or the final way things exist. So therefore you see the importance of the base of the relative truth and ultimate truth, and then method and wisdom as the paths, so that when you combine the two, you can reduce the afflictions. Yeah. That's how the Gisela, afflictions are reduced.
그래서
Thanks.
다데 람 탑시 냠슬란 데네 데부 산제지 구수구당 주군이 토그레 텔라데네 데부군이 토베 저 남샤데다 시고레스다 최부다 낭베 최부다 고 진이나 어디 두스제니 시데마니 람탑시니 데부군이 남샤데 신남데송 남샤데 니 시고레스 어디 도듀지 송레로다
So the two truths, the top now of page 29, the two truths are conventional truths and ultimate truths, how to practice the path, method and wisdom, and dependent on that, how to achieve the goal, the two bodies of a Buddha, the form and truth body. So cultivating that with the understanding of concentration and insight unified.
지나들라 당보 된라 밥제 시 덴바니 남샤데 시 덴바니 남샤데 시 셰절라 예시 셰절라 예네 예와데 셰절라데 다 시둑젤로라 셰자세고라 유젤로라 셰자세고라 다과 미다과 유와 다데스 사마라 부셰바 와타 다과다 미다과데 뭐보 미 두제 최 탐제라 시제세고 다 네파 예와치는 니라래 군소된 바도 듣는데 마스로
Right. We can also look at the two truths in the context of all objects to be known. So all objects of knowledge can be divided into those two. They're called objects of knowledge or things that exist. So, like impermanent things, permanent things. Yeah. And then things and emptiness and so forth. So they're all divided into these two truths.
그래서 내가 난다디 반된 다와타고 엄마집은 나와 니니 남이 강미 미시와 디네 남도 로베 랑미슈 템바니 남시야데 마시네 내가도 남도 로베 람라 슈도여레스 로베 람라 슈고 인자 안딜라데네 동해만 오쇼 진용데 요레스 먼저 동해데 세구유나 니 람얌 타바질라 도고레스 람얌 타고라 도야 람데 카레스나 템바니 남시야데레스 제가 디인자 템바니 남시야데 시고레스야데 디니 시고에 균젠데레스
Why are the two truths being taught and set forth? Chandrakirti says, if one doesn't know the two truths and how they're set forth in terms of the path, one will go down a mistaken path. And as a result of that, one will suffer. But to remove suffering, the valid way, one has to go down a valid path. What is that valid path? It's the understanding of the two truths. So therefore, that is why they're set forth.
그래서 단다 뭐주고나 아니 군조 덴바디 아니 탑 전단 탑 중으로 와 아니 인자 디베는 강바지 장 강바지 가져 파르를 풀고 그나 쇼번이 고로 와 진짜 쇼번이 될 때네 가져 파르 도 되나시 군조 덴바다 전단 덴바 군조 덴바디 탑단 전단 덴바 탑중 탑들라드니 주미 시럽 시럽드니 군조드니 샤야가고 제주시 왕배 제워드니 좀 보이스라 둔두다니 계열무시 자외인데 자주 파르시도 또 세다 다 데니 남샤 시벌 때네 안도 내가 그 동에서 마세 타도게 타바던 탐지 쳔바야 톱제 고베 자주 파르드 그래든지 연구열에서 어디 데니 신베 편열에 와
What are the benefits then of knowing the two truths? As Chandrakirti states in the entrance to the middle way, relative truth is the method, ultimate truth sourced from that is the final mode of abidance or wisdom. And, these are like the two wings, as it is said. The king of geese spreads his two wings and soars to the far shore beyond the cycle of existence by the two wings of method and wisdom. So not only are the two truths then a method to dispel temporal suffering, but also a method to take us to the state of Buddhahood.
tene demba ni se thangye we gyumje de shego da demba ni che demba summin do was de thangye we gyumje de shego ba
Yeah. Why then are the truths enumerated as two and not three?
yapse je we dole ne de song do jigde chembe shen la ma sem bars ne demba de ni je demba jes ne da ji demba jig re sin ro demba sum yo re so tende la ma sem ba che ro demba ni de demba zeres ane demba ni de 가레스는 군조든 전환 dembares tile shembe demba sumya ji demba sumba ji yo mares e jomdinde dona na tende sonres ba
From the page 29, the meeting of Father and Son Sutra. The knower of the world, without listening to others, taught in terms of just these two truths, the conventional and the ultimate. There is no third. So there is relative truth and ultimate truth. There's no need for a third.
ade khung shegyo danda di jomdinde da ane komolo do gen ta zaw shero de do
Yeah.
ne sanje nam ji chue de me demba ni ni yang da den sanje ge chue den shan jo tamje tenpa nyi nala dusha resi, kumbulu duke tende sungsha asung.
Not early. So these two quotations are the sources as to why there are two truths. And similarly, Nagarjuna's treatise on the middle way called wisdom says doctrines taught by Buddhas rely completely on the two truths.
Chezang di kongche, nene ishi shije la che des, di gyawrum jinja sungda, ishi shije la che des. Dere yena, ni kunzo denpa da, tunan denpa nyi ye jins. Shide tunan denpa yinba, di kunzo denpa da, tunan denpa nyi su tang ewa, kunzo denpa da, tunan denpa nyi le shen mewe, gyumzen she yong wara da.
Now, the reason why there are two truths, not three, His Holiness goes on to say that objects of knowledge are twofold: inventional truths and ultimate truths. Top of page 30.
Shide tunan denpa yinba yongjo tumna, di rigba tangtang ke she wara. Pena, manzo, dela di sumba yungu da, mixi di che, tep di mayungi ki poba che dowa de ra, are, mixi che, poba che, yame na mixi yungu re, yame na tep yungu re la na, te mare, haya mayungi ya poba yore, chokso yore, mangbo chala mangu nye dowa, ta yame na yoba de la kunza de mayungu re, kunza de mayi na yoba kanshi la tandan de mayungu re, tandan de mayi na, yame na, tandan de mayungi ki chwe de la kunza de mayungu re, te mayungi ki, chwe sumba chikta shaatogu mara esi di shigorda. Kimzi shiong.
Some might make say, well, what was he saying? Kayudam, dip karela.
Tepdi mayina mishi yungura vela na, yung mara wa, te mayina pawa yungi dwa. Sumba chidwa.
Yeah. Sumba dua.
Sumba yorwa. Kunzu temba da tendu temba la sumba chi yo mara wa.
So it's not similar to saying, if there's only a book and a cup, because there can be a book and a cup. And in a glasses case, here it's being said, that there are three in that case, but here it's being said that everything can be condensed into either being the relative side of the truth or the ultimate truth. There's no third like that. Like there are disparate things.
Yang di kunzu temba tendu na komanda ko dewa ji she na takwa mi dawa nyi na she na tere wa.
Yeah.
Yo shecha yin chinche la yame na takwa yin gore, yame na mi dawa yin gore se wa. Chezang tepdi mi dawa res. Chezang ta mi dawa mayina takwa yin gore se wa. Are. Ta mishi takwa mi dawa re, choze mi dawa re, poba mi dawa re, changwa mi dawa re do.
Yeah.
Chezang ta gyuwa khanshi la yame na mi dawa re do kudu, yame na takwa re do kudu. Tenan shi shecha de la yame na kuzu temba nigu, yame na tenan temba re do kudu.
Yes. Another way of classifying them is if you think about kind of permanent and impermanent. So things are either permanent or impermanent. So when we look at things like the book, glasses, tables, cups, all of those, we can say they're impermanent. And it's similar with, so they're either impermanent or permanent, or relative truth and ultimate truth.
Oh yeah,
things to be known.
That is this tartar.
Yeah, anyway, that's getting a bit yeah.
We go on. That was Chazanda Kejishu, Dembanis, and Namshe Shengwa, the Karananzo, Ani Samudandan, Nalaya, Manguchi, Simnala, Nawashawa Nashinchi, Munizula Yomares.
Yeah.
But this Shengwa, Tedan, Dujetamje, Midawa in by this Shegores, Midawa. 교도라는 시 아니데네야 소소게 루기니 렌데 밤에 그럴때는 중앙에도 밤에 거린 친구인 바데 셰고요. 아니 심기니 렌데 심중아 마실라데네 도고요데 델 삼데스 델 다토스 상말라 곰자요다 곰자 상건데 델라 제곰스고라.
So leaving that aside, one should think on the two truths, thinking with one's mind that things don't exist the way they appear to. Secondly, all compound things are in the nature of change. And then in the context of one's body, it is a product of the parents. And in that sense, the parents are kind. The mind is a continuation of a previous, part of the previous continuum. One should these are all things to meditate upon, to do analytical meditation upon.
Oh yeah.
Any questions? Okay, so yes. So the question is in the book, His Holiness says that the two truths are different isolates of the same entity. Could Geshe-la explain that? Is that your question? Yeah. Geshe-la, Demani di Ngochik Papatali,
Really?
thing on the tender filling lema some call it deep theory. They call it Jeshe Nanga.
이 뭐지를 똑같아 될라야지. 한번 먼저 되는 말라버시 가서. 당분 뭐지 똑같아 될라야지. 근데지 이미지라 두느냐고 요라. 꽤나 미시디로.
Yeah.
미시디 미다고라 봐.
Yeah.
네. 미다고에 아니 깨워야래 봐.
Yep.
지금 그 미시코나 깨워야래 미다고에 봐. 미시코나 어디?
Yep.
아니 네 도got 민다데 찔을 깨워시기도 찔을 미다고시기도라. 자주베 조시디 미시코나 가나 열다. 미시코나래도 하고 제시직간라 제주 다대에서 상당한 대패전이라고 열어. 제시직제로.
Yep.
제시미시디 dom시직간라 제주 미다과 깨와 dü제 세드는 뭐 열어스. 대나시 아니 군조된 바사디 뭐지라다 미시디 군조된 바 당 미시디 내가 그 제주디 군조된 바 타두기 제주디 전난된 바 제가 골라 뭐지를 도바타데 뭐지 도바타데 사니.
Yes, if we take the glasses case of glasses, you can see that it is impermanent, but it's also a product. So these are different isolates or different names or different characteristics of the glass case. So we can look at it in terms of its, relative truth. One of the isolates of the glass case is that it's a product. The other is that it's impermanent. It's like a thing. So then there's the relative side of the glasses case and the ultimate side of the glasses case. So that's the two isolates of the one entity.
근데 dimda 뭐지 도바타데 dimda 디시 망자고 쓰라.
Yeah, next class we'll go into the two isolates of the one entity in more detailed depth.
디테일스 가고요.
It's a little difficult. Philippa.
I'm going back to the familiarity of breathing or suckling, for example.
Right.
So in the 80 conceptual thoughts, when you die and the white light appears, 80 conceptual thoughts dissolve. So of those 80 conceptual thoughts, suckling, breathing, swallowing, eating are in there. They are part of those 80 conceptual thoughts that every being has, whether we're a mammal or an insect or a fish or a hellbent or whatever.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is those instincts must be more than habit, because every being has them, even though you might be born as a creature that doesn't suckle or it doesn't breathe air even. You see what I'm saying?
We've still got those imprints. Like a. So what I'm saying is more than habit.
That's what he said. Yeah, anyway, so the question, Phil,
Oh, is that what he said? But did you say imprints? I thought he said habit. Well, habit's one place to live. Yeah, but habit's different than imprint. Well, I suppose it's the same.
Kishla Pingan Kung Radid, the Pugula Lamsan, Amagi Numanang, Oma,
Yeah.
Tom Dugravadi.
Mm.
Oh, sorry, the question. Do I have to repeat it?
Yeah, English.
Yeah. So the 80 conceptual thoughts, amongst those are these abilities or potencies, we would say, instincts, yep, to suck breasts, swallow, breathing, and so forth. So when those 80 conceptual thoughts collapse, you know, like in the white light dissipation, you know, whether you're an animal, mammal, whatever, yeah, helping ghosts, then those instincts, is it? You're saying they're more than habits, they're instincts. Is that the
Well,
question?
yeah, like they must be like ancient, primal, instinctual, more than just because we've been a mammal a million times,
Mhm.
but we've also been things that don't suckle and swallow and breathe as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I'm saying is that correct? That like, anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
So Gishla Kundo Rakpa Jejura, the Shule do. The Kundu Tim Dogara, Meva Dogara.
Yeah.
The Dinangla Nubachik Dusa, Pena Pugu Amatoya Town,
Yeah.
Chunangla Ka Comedy, Doa Town, Utanga Dizan Sangma Tim Dogara.
Yeah.
The Philippa Dinanchin Kanzak Dundo in a drop, mammal in a drop. Nanzo Kewan Yama, the Komgi Wangletin in my imbache, because a link in Nanchin, Kurang.
Lenje.
So the Gangla, Nanzo Kewe Rere la Mio Marwa, some Nanzo Nya Yori, some Nyawa Yori, some Yidak Yori. Sometimes we are fish, hungry ghost and Marangi Tiri. Kumshi down, because a link is the Lekepakali.
Ale kumshi lenje.
Yeah, so I've asked what's the difference between instinct and habit? That's really your question, isn't it?
Yeah, my question is that.
Yeah.
kumshi dan lenje sina da kumshi lenje se de da ko ngama shushu go yong den jo jre de ra. Ni da iro lenje se de nga lenje la de la. Ani chi gyujen samno ta mo go de yong den jo jre.
Yeah.
Ya kumshi la de la ya ko 현재 열애로 현재 kumshi 열애다. 현재 맞아 kumshi 유초로. kumshi 가셔라 인지미질 현재 거 말에 세대기 kumshi 열어다. 그래. 세대 온게 저 뭐마 창라라 당고 창라라 거면이 있네요. 이제 kum시 조봉에 받은데 그 kum시 창라라 거 차를 현재 게 말아 세대가랑
Okay.
근데 근데 여러 개고 kum시 게 뭐차 열어. 현재 라야들라 아니 이제 let's
establish. So instinct are more that causes and conditions are not needed. It's almost like innate. But we would say that a lot of habits are instinctual, or most. But then there are cases where, for example, in this life, you don't have like an instinctual habit to drink alcohol, but you take it up in this life. So that would be an example.
What made me think of it though is there's a disease, for example, in premature babies, it's human babies.
Right.
That if they feed them, they forget to breathe.
Ale.
They actually forget, their brain forgets that they have to breathe.
They're born too early, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
their brain isn't developed enough and it forgets to breathe.
Murang di karichene tiwa nang bresana. Ame neonang la pugu yuba. Kashik la tila natsa dusa.
음.
Konzo tangegi tempa jesha sa.
레레.
We get to breathe just right.
안데네 나도 잘 알아.
Yeah, then it's shidoge.
네 여러. 저마마디 수메드네 용어 저알레오니데나 뭐 우다하게 금시데 타니오질메데 탐바제데라.
Yeah, if they're coming from a formless realm, they're not used to
Oh.
that breathing process, so they might not remember how.
Yeah.
I never thought like that. It's very strange.
Oh yeah, that is
Page 31, short mandala.
Oh, sorry, another question.
No, sorry.
Oh, then Mike.
Sanje Jinde Mide Waye Drogo Namda Shingwa Chopa
Jetsun Lama Kunze Rabdan Shin Namka Chingley Chukyu Gyapadan Lo San Timbe Drome Sasum Yu Drome Munso Taktu Niku Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnayataya. Due to the merit of these virtuous actions, Maya quickly attained the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that is not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created by paying homage, offering, acknowledging my faults, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddhas stay and teach, I now dedicate all this to full awakening. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, that I might perform the noble bodhisattva's deeds. May the king of Dharma, Tsongkhapa's way of Dharma, practice and flourish. May the yokes of obstacles be pacified, and all conducive circumstances be complete. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, is be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the Snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who makes extremely clear the path of his unification of emptiness and compassion. To the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as a bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Munjanala's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers honoring the 3 jewels. Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please swiftly return. By relying on the 2 accumulations of myself and others in the 3 times, may the teachings of the conqueror Losang Drugpa blaze for a long time. And on the separate sheet of paper, which I don't have at the moment. Fearless teacher, assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratika Buddhas, whereas Losang, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lamps, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Buddha's precious and complete teachings. Through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make requests. I'll strive as simple pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness are privileged. And for all living beings who suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels, and the great way to bodhicitta of the children of victorious ones, may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam and glory for fortunate disciples. Is there any comment?
어머다 니니 그 범죄들이 다른 범죄 다 당연하시 범죄가.
Yeah. Meditate on those topics Krishna mentioned at the end. Yeah.
단다 저디 수수 겨왕아지게 네저 류기니는 파마니 바다 가딘테야다 아니 싱기니는 기준 진정 아마도야 건강 아마도야 구싱 아마도야 도저 삼나다 아니 되네 음 단당한저디 어 나네 미tumba 미다과 뒤제든지 미다과 임바다 그러와 아니 낭주당 내주 튜마든시야로 도저 삼나다나 야고요 곰트다레 아니 데 단대 주식 카도도 테스트 로기 로기 다 생유유지 로 아니 닝기 상당다 데 테스트 자신 보러
Yeah.
음
Yes, to meditate on the cause of the body. I know you want to go. Can I have a minute of your time? To meditate on the cause of the body, tracing it back, to meditate, and that meditate, of course, on the existence of previous lives in regard to mind's continuum, in terms of its habit, and of terms of its stream of consciousness being a continuum, to meditate on all compound things being impermanent. And it's good to meditate that things don't exist the way they appear. And one can also meditate by reading slowly, reading excerpts from the book as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Good night. Now